Konnichiwa, and welcome to the Samurai Way, the podcast where we dive into the wisdom of the samurai, the art of Japanese living, and the philosophies that help us live with purpose and perseverance. I'm Lori Tsugawa, and whether you're here to explore Bushido, the samurai, uncover the meaning of Ikigai, or just looking for a little extra gambaru, never give up spirit in your daily life, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's walk this path together. Are you ready? Let's begin. Well, konnichiwa, minasan. I'm Lori Tsugawa, and welcome to the Samurai Way podcast, where we will share ancient principles of the Japanese and samurai so that you can live lives of honor, courage, and integrity. So I'm happy to announce that this is our 31st episode on the Samurai Way podcast, and we are going towards 50,000 downloads. Well, we're already over 30,000. We had 15,000 about a month or two ago, so we'll get there before the end of the year. Today, our special guest is Bob Reish, and he is an executive business coach, keynote speaker, and founder of Caveat Institute. He equips leaders with tools, truth, and accountability they need to lead with clarity, consistency, and conviction. I like that, 3 C's. Known for cutting through the noise with bold wisdom and no-fluff coaching, Bob helps professionals stop settling and start leading with legacy in mind. So please help me welcome Bob to the stage.
Thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. And so, Bob, I shared a little bit about you, but would you like to give us a short background about you and how you got to from point A to point where you are now?
Oh, I love that question. And I could go on forever because it's one of my favorite questions because it's really at the root of who I am. I always like to say where we started today is really kind of started back in high school. And I remember that because my basketball coach came up to me and put his arm around me and said, "Bob, I think you'd make a better wrestler." At the time, I thought he was really out for my own good, but really he was trying to get me out of his hair. So I went and wrestled, and I wasn't much better than that. Got through that through high school, then went to DeVry. I don't know why I went to DeVry and got my electronics degree because anybody that knows me know that working with my hands is not my best forte. Most people know that running my mouth is. And so when I started DeVry, I graduated with my electronics degree and I went to work on phone systems and electronics, things that had to work with my hands. And again, my boss probably had visions of my basketball coach when he put his arms around me and he said, "Bob, I think you'd be really good in the classroom." So he stuck me in the classroom thinking he's going to get me out of his hair, but that's where I shined. That's where I really came alive, and that's where I found my passion. So from that time, through ministries, through insurance companies, through corporate, I lived and breathed through the classroom, through the stage, and I was able to really help people really not only become successful, but become significant and understand how they can really build a legacy. And through the many years, we've honed our systems and processes through corporate. And then in 2015 is when we launched our own practice, which has turned into Caveat Institute. And today we're able to help leaders one-on-one, solo entrepreneurs, big business, large companies, small business. They're able to help people on many different areas. And really what we focus on is we help leaders who are successful. They know they're successful, but they know there's something more. They know there's something different. And we help them get to that next level using our systems and process, which are based on our principles that have been proven time honored for many, many thousands of years. So we really focus on our principles as we hone our systems and process with each generation.
Okay, well, we spoke about principles and how the Japanese principles are very similar to what you are doing and help others do. Would you like to speak about, we talked about adapt, influence, and manage. Which one, would you like to speak to one of those now?
Oh, absolutely. Adapt, influence, and manage. They're completely different principles, but they all intertwine and they come together as one. We talk about adapt, influence, and manage. And no matter where you are in life, you find circumstances. And one of our main principles that allows us to adapt, influence, and manage is what we call our four-step mountain process. It really goes up the mountain. And really, it starts with at the bottom of the mountain with how we think, what we say to ourselves, because we talk to ourselves more than anybody else. And that self talk, whether it be negative or positive, is always there. that self-talk, what we say to ourselves, will always turn into our emotions. It will always turn into what we believe. So what we believe, how we feel is based off of our self-talk. And our what we believe will always be reflected in our actions, in our activities. And our activities will always produce a successful outcome, regardless of the circumstances. And that's where we talk about adapt, influence, and manage, because we're able to adapt, influence, and manage in any situation. Starts with our self-talk, and then it really focuses on a successful outcome, whether negative or positive. It really bases on who we are, and it's not based on our circumstances, because it's really not about our circumstances. Because one of the principles we believe is there's a pothole, there's a big barrier. And sometimes society teaches you that all you have to do is get through it. All you have to do is push through, which is a lie. Because many times those barriers are impossible. But what most people miss is there's usually two detours around the barrier. It's not that people don't know that they're there, they just don't want to go there. And sometimes they're full of rocks and weeds, but often we find that where you should be is not in the middle of the road, but it's usually on one of the detours, which gets you to where you need to be. And just these couple little principles are very similar to, I know, what you teach and what you believe. And it's so powerful that no matter where the principles start, time honored principles will always go through generations and generations and always prove to be proven true each and every generation as we always adapt, influence, and manage.
Well, I like to say that good morals never go out of style.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
You want to share about that one story you're telling me about? I think it's, you said you were at a restaurant?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, one of my podcasts I have is out there. It's called Here's the Caveat.com. Just get on Here's the Caveat.com, and we have over 300 episodes on our podcast. And just a few weeks ago, we put a podcast out that I believe it was entitled something like, If You Can't Teach Your Kids to Be Respectful of Applebee's, They'll Never Be Respectful in the Boardroom. And really, where did that come from was adapt, influence, and manage. I was sitting in a restaurant getting some work done, and all of a sudden I kept feeling, getting kicked in the back. And it was the 5-year-old back there, 3 or 5, whatever how old he was kicking my booth. And I kind of turned around and looked at the grandmother, and I kid you not, the grandmother said, "Calm down, he's just having fun." And your first instinct is to enrage, get upset, get angry. This is just ridiculous. Don't parents teach their kids? But what happened is I adapted, influenced, and managed. Within seconds, I started creating a new podcast. I started creating a new article that basically teaches if you don't teach your kids to be respectful at a young age, they're not going to be respectful in the business. And those principles are huge. And where did it start? It started at a very frustrating situation. It started with a circumstance. I could have gotten angry. I adapted, influenced, and managed. And at the end of the meal, they actually left, and I left a little bit later. But I actually went from the beginning to get angry and frustrated to grateful. Why? Is because I have an article, I have a podcast, and also it's on my LinkedIn. And we also put that as a LinkedIn post as well. Not quite as detailed, but you get the gist on LinkedIn, which is getting on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn. You'll see my principles each and every day as well.
Well, respect is one thing that is very important in the Japanese culture. One of the
Absolutely.
7 principles of Bushido, and they teach respect is one of their, I would say, one of the most important of all 7 of them, because they always respect. They respect others. Like I was sharing with you, Bob, earlier, that in the schools, the grade schools children are the ones that are the janitors. They also serve each other lunch, and they're involved in each other's lives, and they consider that part of, shall we say, their training is to learn how to take care of other things. You will not see graffiti at the schools because they know that they will have to paint and or correct it or whatever. And that's just something you wouldn't do in Japan. It's just, it's a very clean, safe country, and the people are so kind and respectful. It's almost, it's amazing. They don't, there are certain rules, you don't bend them. You just don't, like they say, you don't talk on your cell phone when you're walking down the street. You don't do that. You don't see people littering on the street or doing graffiti or pushing or shoving unless it's the line for the rush hour. That's the only time I saw that pushing, but all the rest of the time you are in a straight line, and everybody is so, they're so punctual, and you just go by the rules because it's such a large society. You can imagine, 33 million people in Tokyo, and if everybody did their own thing, it would be havoc.
Absolutely. And again, it's those principles that are taught at a young age that mean so much as a person grows and matures.
Mhm. And I love the way you took adversity and turn it into something positive.
Mm-hmm.
And it does take, I think it takes some discipline. It
It
takes
does.
control. In fact, that just happened to me when I was at a dance camp and I wasn't able to dance as much as I wanted, but I accidentally bumped into somebody and she came over and just about pulled my hair out. And
Mm-hmm.
I just said, calm down, just calm down. Talk to her in about 10 minutes. So I did. And I said, you know what? And she goes, you bumped into me. I go, I am so sorry that I bumped into you. That was not my intent. I said I had a concussion. And ever since then, I've been clumsy and I really apologized. And she was really thankful. And she instead of getting mad and ignoring and uh, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's what people do. When you do something that upsets them, they'll just ignore you or give you dirty looks or
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. But I thought, I just can't, I don't like to live with that. I don't want her to think, of course, I would never bump into anybody on purpose. But I turned that into one where took a deep breath. Okay, it's gonna be okay. I didn't do it on purpose. I would never do that on purpose. That could hurt somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how you can, like you did, you turned that, not only did you respond in a positive way, the Bushido way,
Mm-hmm.
respectfully, and you turned it into a teaching situation where maybe some parent or grandparent could see that and see that no, it's not just having fun. It's like this affects other people.
It does, absolutely.
Mhm. So I love that example. And you
I think
also talked about legacy.
yes.
Could you share? Because I love to talk to people about legacy and ask them about their legacy, their big dream, but I'd like to hear it from your perspective.
I believe legacy is the pinnacle of leadership. And we just mentioned to you earlier that our third book is going to be coming out in about 6 weeks, entitled "From Greatness to What Matters." And really, what it is, it's basically my 30 years in leadership. It's my leadership philosophy and how I started and how I intend to finish. And it's really a leadership philosophy that starts with being successful. We first of all want to be successful. It's about what we can get. It's about making money. It's about making a name for ourselves, building those businesses. And there's nothing wrong with that. Building those businesses is something you need to be proud of. And again, doing that and doing it right is based off of great principles. Next becomes significance. And a great successful leader will always become significant, where it's not about you, it's about someone else. It's about helping someone else become more.
Yes.
It's helping someone else become successful, where it becomes less about your success and more about someone else's success. And when you can begin to be more excited about someone else's success over your success, that is really showing a growth in your leadership. And it's really the biblical principle, it's better to give than receive. It really brings that out, where I have found that yes, I get excited when I sell, I get excited when I become successful or hit a milestone. But what I discover is I get more successful when my clients become successful. I get more successful when they hit their milestones, which then leads us into legacy. And that's really what the book is all about, is from greatness to what matters. Because what really matters, it's really generations ahead of us. It's our children, it's our
Yes.
grandchildren. And really it's about my legacy, is who am I going to be able to help in generations when I'm not here. It's through my children, it's through the people I work with, it's through the young people of today. And if they could take my wisdom, if they could take my experience, not only through my books or my teachings or wherever it's at, and take those time honored principles, which I learned, and take those time honored principles into future generations, then they can take that into becoming successful significance and leave more for generations from them. And it's just a continual process. And if we look at generations of old to generations yet to be here, what really holds those together, what really bonds those generations together, it's time honored principles. And they've been around for thousands of years, and they'll
Uh-huh.
be around for another thousands of years. And that's really what it's all about. Is we have systems and processes that change every generation, and we tweak and we break things new. But when they are built on principles, we know that that bedrock is strong, and those principles will live for generations to come.
I love that. Zig Ziglar said that if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want.
Absolutely. We
It's the
live by
time,
that principle as
seed
well.
time and sowing, that you see that if you don't just, if it's just about me, then it's not really serving. If it's about
Absolutely.
what can I do to help other people? And I absolutely love that. When I was at camp, I was, looking for those that didn't feel quite wanted or a little feel under the weather or left out. I always, when I can remember doing that when I was in grade school, is to kind of look for those that looked like they needed a little cheering up or a hands up, because I love to encourage. That's what my name means, Victoria's Spirit. So it's a beautiful thing to know that your life is just not about you, because if it's just about you, it can be pretty lonely. It can be really lonely if it's all just about me or me and my little group here. But once you expand out, it's just amazing. It's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to learn about people. I learned about someone that had, it was just overcoming sepsis. It's like, that's, people have there's a lot of problems in the world, and you start reaching out to other people, you'll realize that you don't have that many problems. You have clean water, you have food in your refrigerator, you have roof over your head, you have a car to drive. But there's so many people in this world don't even have fresh water. And my husband and I help out with water wells in third world countries.
Absolutely.
So I would like to know if you will, we're going to put in the description your website and about your book and that type of thing. But what I'd really like to know is what you would like to leave with the audience, some tips of wisdom and where you're going and how you can, just continue to be greater. And would love to hear from you.
I would say I get this question a lot. And I love the question. And it's really come down to really one thing. Find that one person, a coach, a mentor, somebody that has been there before you, somebody that has that wisdom, somebody that can focus on they have actually done it, and pay attention and listen to them. People ask me all the time, I want to start a business. What's the first thing I can do? Really, what they're asking is, I don't want to spend any money. What's out there for free? And really, that's just a myth. It doesn't work that way. I tell people, get a coach. Don't find a coach that you know and you're gonna swap services and they're gonna do it for free. Invest in a coach. I invested in a coach. Why? Is because I needed someone there that could understand me, understood where I was coming from, understood me, listen to me, not only tell me what I wanted to hear, but tell me what I need to hear. And then somebody that has that passion. Do they have a passion for your success? Do they have a passion to see you do bigger and greater things? You know, are they going to see the hope? When you see that light at the end of the tunnel, sometimes you need that person that is going to tell you it's not an oncoming train. It's you deserve that. I shared that with a client today where he talked to me and he said everything right, but he was justifying. He was like almost like, I don't really deserve it. This is why I'm doing it. And it was almost like he was trying to talk me into believing what he was saying, but I think he was trying to talk himself. And I stopped him. I actually said, time out. I said, try it again. Don't justify it. You deserve this. And it was amazing once he started talking like he deserved it. And this is somebody that deserved it, and he really deserved it. His whole demeanor changed. And it was amazing to listen to him because I bought into him. And that's really what you want somebody to do, is buy into you. And somebody that sometimes just says, you know what, it's going to be okay. And sometimes you deserve it is what we need. Have somebody that's going to make you accountable, but most of all, be that trusted advisor. And it's so important that people understand that they need somebody that's been there, that can ask them the right questions and help them there. Why? Because no major league athlete, no professional football player ever got where they needed to be and won that championship without a coach from many, many years earlier. They never said, no 5-year-old has ever said, when I win the World Series, I'll get a coach. They found somebody that taught them the basics. They found somebody that asked them the questions. They found somebody that understood them and cared about them. And we talk about two things. Are you either a victim or a victor? And I'll leave you with this. If you're a victor, it's about being above the line. We talk about, are you thinking above the line? As a victor, you're talking about positive. You're talking about taking responsibility, taking ownership. Do you see your value? But most of all, are you excellent? You strive for perfection, but you achieve excellence, as Vince Lombardi always said. Or are you thinking below the line? Are you focused on Blame. Are you focused on excuses, negative thoughts? But a lot of times people really focus on being defensive. Well, not me. Don't blame me. But really, what gets so many people is that scarcity mindset, where I don't deserve it. It's not out there. Nothing ever good happens to me. I don't know why I'm trying, because everything always fails. And the question is, are you thinking above the line or thinking below the line? And I ask my questions, my clients all that all the time. You thinking above the line or the below the line? And all it takes is a quick thought process change. Are you willing to make that choice? And that's really what discipline is doing what you should do when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not.
That's a
That
good quote.
is that is focused on it. That is exactly what we practice because we believe it, and that's exactly what we teach each and every day.
Well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you. It's been like a pep talk here. I wasn't an athlete, but I was a cheerleader, and that's what we were supposed to do, is to cheer them on. But you gave us so many thoughts of wisdom and little nuggets here, and a lot about. I heard a lot about the thought process, because it says, and I shared this in some other podcast, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you think in your heart, that's what you are. So if you think yourself great, then you will be great, because like God didn't make junk, did he?
Nope, not at all.
No, he did not. It's just for us to help people find it. And if people need help, they will always find help, because it's like when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And when you're ready, you will find that person. You keep seeking and you will find. So I want to thank all of you in podcast land to thank you for watching. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share to the Samurai Way podcast, where we are teaching ancient principles for modern day samurai warriors. Is what we're doing. We're raising up people that will live that code of honor. So thank you so much, everyone. And that's a wrap for now. And thank you, Bob Reish, for being our guest. And
my pleasure.
You will see his information below when it's broadcasted. We'll put all those in, and we'll put it in the newsletter too.
Perfect.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Mata ne. And that's a wrap for today's episode, The Samurai Way. I hope you found a little inspiration, a new perspective, or just something to reflect upon as you go about your day. Now remember, the samurai spirit isn't just about history. It's about how you show up, face challenges, and live with purpose. Whether it's Ikigai guiding your path, or a little extra Ganbaru pushing you forward, keep walking strong. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, or leave a review. It really helps. And if you've got some thoughts, questions, or you just want to connect, just contact me. So until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep living with purpose. Mata ne.